Chapter 11. Sugar Plum. A bright flash of light, and sound, and color, and a face. It worked, the girl before her cried. What worked? Sugar Plum asked. My machine, the girl answered. You're real now. Am I? Sugar Plum looked down at her hands. They were soft, smooth, and white. Yes, the girl said, drawing her into a hug. It was the most heartfelt, joyful hug Sugar Plum would ever know. And you're perfect. That had been Sugar Plum's first memory with Marie, back when it was just the two of them in the realm. Now she had lots of memories, and the realm wasn't just one realm any longer, but full, each filled with toys brought to life by Marie's clever invention, the engine. With the joyful discovery that the engine was a success, Marie and Sugar Plum had made dozens and dozens of friends to play with, China dolls, puppets, even miniature figurines, all transformed into picture-perfect people, very happy and eager to explore their new home. And once there were so many citizens, they of course needed houses, and shops, and places to play and eat and enjoy themselves. So together, Sugar Plum, Marie, and all the citizens had figured out ways to use Marie's tinkering contraptions to build entirely new towns throughout the beautiful landscape. It was easy, really, once they got started. Simple contraptions Marie had built in the real world would be used in the realms to create so many things. A tinkered machine that blew puffs of steam would send clouds billowing up to the heavens. An ordinary oven with a few mechanical tweaks and a quick bake button could whip up enough cookies to form sweet cobblestone streets. A tinkered garden plow could till acres of fields in minutes. A mechanically tweaked icebox could produce enough ice to form entire glaciers. And Sugar Plum's favorite, a prototype candy floss maker Marie said her Uncle Drosselmeyer had brought back from his travels abroad, could make enough spun sugar to form into any shape imaginable, all while shimmering like glass. Marie told Sugar Plum that everything she created had a special purpose or memory associated with it, and along with the new citizens, the two friends transformed the landscape of the realm into the fairy tale wonderland of the four realms. Tell me the story again, Sugar Plum would often beg Marie as they gazed out the palace windows at the splendor stretching far to the horizon. What does each of the realms mean? Marie would smile and hold her friend's hand as she pointed to each. The land of flowers, she gestured to a flower-filled valley bursting with color, like my father's garden outside his clock shop. She directed Sugar Plum's attention to the mountains in the distance, where an ice cathedral sat nestled among frozen cottages and icy pathways. The land of snowflakes, Marie explained, to remind me of the day I came to Drosselmeyer's estate. Sugar Plum leaned out the window to spy the realm in the opposite direction. Carnival rides peeked out from between the towering evergreen treetops, Ferris wheels, carousels, circus tents, and spinning towers. On the forest floor, grand bouquet tables were set with tea party finery. The land of amusement, Marie said, for my mother. And our favorite realm? Sugar Plum pressed eagerly, her eyes sparkling like sugar. The two friends turned to view the candy confection backdrop of the realm closest to the palace. It was a bustling town, vibrant with life and pastel color. Peppermint pathways crisscrossed between gingerbread houses, lollipop lampposts, and even a frosted sugar fountain. The land of sweets, Marie replied, nudging her friend's shoulder, to remind me of you. Sugar Plum's cheeks would flush candy floss pink with pride whenever Marie told her that. No matter how many unique citizens Marie brought to life with the engine, jolly bakers and flower peddlers, and even Christmas carolers who went door to door each day singing holiday tunes, whether it was Christmas or not. Sugar Plum always knew she was the most special of all. She had been first, and as Marie said, she was perfect. Sugar Plum simply adored her friends' visits to the realms. A few times, Marie had brought the old man Drosselmeyer with her as well. The first time he visited, he had seemed stunned upon seeing the splendor Marie and Sugarplum had created together. "Goodness, child," he exclaimed, "how long have you been working in here?" "A while," Marie had giggled, "but strangely, it doesn't feel like that long at all. Because she has us." Sugarplum had thrown her arms around her friend's shoulders. "We did it together. Marie is our queen." "Your queen?" Drosselmeyer asked, raising an eyebrow. "Marie, I had no idea royalty was something you fancied." Marie had smiled sheepishly. "Well, with the palace and all, it seemed fitting." "And rightfully so," Drosselmeyer conceded. "After all, this world is from your imagination. It only follows that you should watch over it." Drosselmeyer gazed around the spectacular landscape in amazement. "It is truly stunning. Your parents would have been proud." Sugarplum could tell Marie was pleased with that the old man was impressed. The only thing better than creating life in the realms, in Sugarplum's opinion, was playing in them. Whenever Marie was there, the two girls were inseparable, laughing and frolicking together from dawn until dusk. On one such morning, very early, before the sun had even risen, Sugarplum burst out through the grand palace's doors. "Come along," she shouted to Marie. "If you don't hurry, we'll miss it." "I'm coming," Marie cried, her ice skates banging against her shoulder as she hurried to keep up. She slipped and slid across the bridge all the way to the land of snowflakes. Meanwhile, Sugarplum seemed to glide across as lightly as a feather. "This way," Sugarplum urged her. "Hurry." The two girls passed through the tunnel leading to a 1,000-step staircase that ascended all the way to the top of the land of snowflakes frozen glacier. Marie panted for breath, matching Sugarplum step for step. "Why are there so many stairs?" she huffed. "Don't ask me," Sugarplum called back. "You made it." "Remind me to make a staircase with fewer stairs next time," Marie laughed. The girls climbed up, up, racing to make it to the top before they missed their chance. "Almost there," Sugarplum encouraged. "Quickly now." 30 more steps, then 20, then 10, until finally the girls burst through the opening into the wintry realm at the very top. Glittery snowflakes collected on their hair and shoulders as they continued their speedy trek across the ice and snow. They ran up a high snowdrift and clambered over the crest before sliding down the other side, skidding onto a frozen pond at the base. "We made it," Marie breathed hard. "I didn't think we would." "Just in time," Sugarplum said. "Look up." She put her arm around Marie's shoulders and pointed to the sky. The first wisps of dawn were just breaking over the snow-capped mountains. Pink and orange streaked the horizon, but up above, where the edges of sunrise had not yet touched, misty swirls of yellow and green and purple began to dance across the heavens. "They're beautiful," Sugarplum whispered. "Tell me again what they are called." "They're called the Aurora Borealis," Marie smiled proudly. "At least, that's what they're called in the real world. Colorful lights that appear because of magnetic charges in the sky far up in the north." "And here?" Sugarplum asked. "Here, it's just magic," Marie replied. "I've always wanted to see the northern lights since I read about them, but I didn't think it was possible. Then I realized anything is possible in here, with science, mechanics, and a little bit of imagination." The two friends sat down on the fluffy snow. Sugarplum leaned back against the snowbank. The glow from the colorful lights reflected on her porcelain-white skin. "And with you," she said. "None of this would be possible without you." She hugged Marie tightly. The girls watched in wonder as the lights continued to dance gently up above. Finally, the colors faded with the rising sun. The morning grew bright, and the green and orange and yellow vanished completely against the blue sky. "Come on," Sugarplum whispered. "Let's skate." The girls giggled and laced up their ice skates. They pushed out onto the frozen pond, skating in perfect figure eights and practicing ballet leaps upon the ice. Marie fell often, but not Sugarplum. Her movements were just as precise and delicate as when she'd been a wind-up toy. Sugarplum helped Marie up each time she stumbled. and showed her the way to perform an arabesque while balancing on one skate. They whirled and twirled until finally their stomachs started to rumble, which meant it was time for their favorite treat, a visit to the land of Sweet's Bakery. Hand in hand, they bounced back down the 1,000-step staircase and clambered along the peppermint cobblestone streets. The scents of warm chocolate croissants and cinnamon donuts wafted through the air. Marie plucked 2 apple walnut muffins from the bakery's tray and placed them in her basket, while Sugar Plum poured steaming mugs of cocoa from a huge copper kettle. Then they skipped to the palace courtyard to enjoy their breakfast. They reclined on a tuft of green grass, chatting about how lovely the new flower vines looked and how silly the tin soldier guards were. And wouldn't it be divine to go on a hot air balloon ride over the realms later that day? I love it when we're together, Sugar Plum said happily. I wish you could stay here all the time. Sometimes I wish so too, Marie said. Sugar Plum often wondered what it was like for Marie back in the real world. Did she have a beautiful bedroom there too? As many fancy dresses as she did here? All the ginger biscuits she could eat? Sugar Plum didn't have any memory of her time in the real world. She'd only been a doll back then. But she liked it when Marie told stories of how she had played with her ever since she was a little girl. In a way, Sugar Plum felt like they had been best friends from the very beginning. How come you have to go back? Sugar Plum asked. Why not stay here with me? Her mouth was still full, but she flashed a bright smile, trying to sweet-talk her idea. We could play and skip and dance and do everything together all the time. It would never have to end. Marie laughed. That would be grand. She took a sip of cocoa. But I belong in the real world too. Why? You're not a queen there. Sugar Plum playfully nudged her friend's shoulder. But here you are. I know, Marie giggled. But there are things I have to take care of in the real world. Lessons and schoolwork. And I made a promise to my uncle. What promise? Sugar Plum asked. That I would always come back, Marie said. Oh. Sugar Plum thought about that for a moment. Can you promise me too? Promise you what? Marie asked. That you'll always come back? Sugar Plum said. Of course. Marie hugged her tightly. I'd never leave you. Sugar Plum grinned wide, filled with happiness. She hopped up, letting the apple muffin crumb tumble from her lap onto the grass. Race you to the flower fields, she yelled. Not fair, Marie laughed when the Sugar Plum sped off. You always get a head start. The 2 girls bounded toward the land of flowers, the next adventure waiting just beyond the horizon. And so it was every day in the realms for Marie and Sugar Plum, 2 best friends, like sisters, playing together without a care in the world. One afternoon, in the engine room, Sugar Plum watched curiously as Marie held a new toy in her hands. The old man Drosselmeyer was with them. Whenever he came, something new or exciting was usually in store. It's magnificent, Uncle. Marie admired the handsome Nutcracker doll Drosselmeyer had given her for her birthday. Thank you so much. I'll admit, my gift is a bit self-serving, Drosselmeyer replied. I'm eager to see your invention at work again. Of course, Marie said. He will make a perfect god for the palace. Well, not perfect, Sugar Plum teased. Yes, of course. Marie touched noses with her. Only you are perfect. The girls laughed, having shared this particular joke many times before. Marie placed the Nutcracker upon the engine platform. Then she hopped up to turn the star-shaped key on the enormous machine. Whir, click, hum. The machine buzzed to life, and with a bright flash, the Nutcracker doll had vanished. In its place stood a real-life soldier, proud and tall, with rich brown skin and a brushed red velvet uniform. The Nutcracker soldier blinked. Where am I? He asked. Marie placed a hand on his shoulder, as she did with each toy she brought to life. You are home, she said. My name is Marie. What's yours? The soldier gazed into Marie's eyes. Philip. He took an awkward step forward. Marie steadied him. Careful, she said. Coming to life takes a bit of getting used to. Sugar Plum watched the soldier regain his balance. Every time Marie brought a toy to life, their first steps were always so clumsy. But hers hadn't been. She prided herself on being as graceful as a ballerina from the start. Meanwhile, Drosselmeyer reached out to touch the metal of the engine. I still can't believe it, he said to Marie. Your machine uses nothing but steam power? Yes. The turbines turn the conveyor belts that carry the different gears necessary to mechanize every toy, Marie explained. Inside, they're assembled the way they would need to be arranged to allow the toy to move. But with the magic of the realms, it does more than that. It brings them to life, Sugar Plum finished for her. Drosselmeyer smiled proudly, like a father seeing his child accomplish a great task. My dear Marie, only you could have thought of something so clever. She's brilliant, isn't she? Sugar Plum took Marie's arm. I don't know about brilliant, Marie laughed. She gestured to Philip. Each toy that comes to life is unique in its own way. Perhaps I'm the magical toy that allowed the machine to work, Sugar Plum suggested. I was the first, after all. Maybe you're right, Marie said. I would never have thought of the engine in the first place if it weren't for you. You're my best friend. That made Sugar Plum very happy. Which reminds me, Drosselmeyer suddenly announced. Marie, your governess asked that we meet with her together. She did? Marie asked with a look of surprise. Have I done something wrong? No, Drosselmeyer assured her. On the contrary, your studies are exemplary, but she is a bit concerned about your social exposure. Social exposure? Sugar Plum repeated in a proper stuffy voice. That sounds ever so serious. What does she mean, Uncle? Marie asked. I'm not entirely sure, Drosselmeyer replied, but we shall find out together. Are you ready? Of course, Uncle. Marie let go of Sugar Plum's arm. I'll come with you now. But, Sugar Plum started. She didn't want her friend to leave just yet. I thought we were going to make snow angels, and then flower angels, and then candy angels. Marie laughed. We still can, silly. I'll come back as soon as I'm finished. While I'm gone, why don't you show Philip around? You can take him to the candy factory or the flower gardens. The dahlia lilies are all in bloom, your favorites. Sugar Plum watched as Drosselmeyer guided Marie out through the engine room door. She's always so busy, Sugar Plum mused to Philip. I wonder if people in the real world realize how clever she is. She must be very clever to have invented such a thing. Philip looked to the engine. Should we go to the candy factory then, as Marie said? Sugar Plum shrugged. I suppose so. She was honestly more interested in getting a head start on making lovely snow angels to surprise Marie when she returned. But then Sugar Plum glanced at Philip's uniform and giggled. Maybe they'll have some nuts for you to crack. Philip looked down at his hands in uniform and laughed as well. I'm afraid I won't be much help with that anymore, he admitted. The next year, Christmas time arrived again at Drosselmeyer's estate, and this was a very special year, Marie told Sugar Plum. She had always asked her uncle for a party at Christmas, but this year Drosselmeyer had taken it one step further. He was hosting a grand ball to celebrate, the first ever at his manor. Will you help me do my hair? Marie begged Sugar Plum. I can never make it look as lovely as you do. If Sugar Plum could have, she would have glowed with happiness. Hello. Of course, she gushed. I will make you look like royalty. High in the palace bedroom tower, Sugar Plum worked hard to pin Marie's hair up just right. She coiled her friend's dark brown tresses into an intricate bun at the nape of her neck. Then she wove sprigs of holly and berries Marie had brought from the real world around her head like a Christmas-time crown. It's gorgeous, Marie admired the stunning hairdo in her mirror. Oh, Sugar Plum, what would I do without you? Your hair would be tangles, Sugar Plum teased. Marie leaned in close, as though about to share a secret. Come, she said, let's take a sneak peek at the party from the grandfather clock. Together they scampered up into the mechanized clock room and hopped onto the conveyor belt. In the blink of an eye, the belt whisked them outside. and they stood as two delicate figurines upon the tall clock. Not long ago, the two girls had discovered the grandfather clock portal would allow them to peek out at the real world, as though they were two figurines belonging to the clock itself, another mystery of the realms discovered by chance. Afterward, Marie had asked her uncle to move the clock to his grand ballroom so that she and Sugarplum could observe the annual Christmas party festivities from their secret vantage point. She knew that Sugarplum would enjoy the revelry even if she couldn't be there in person. "Isn't it fantastic?" Marie asked, gazing upon the party below. "It's so cheerful and lively. I've never seen so many people in one place." "We should host a party in the realms too," Sugarplum exclaimed, "with all the citizens gathered at the palace." "What a wonderful idea!" Marie clapped her hands. "We could have a tree and presents and... Oh!" Marie suddenly stopped, her eyes fixated on a particular spot on the ballroom floor below. Sugarplum followed her gaze. Several children were dancing about the Christmas tree. They laughed and chattered as they spun. "Children!" Marie gasped. "Uncle didn't say there would be children at the party. I thought it would be only grown-ups. But look, I know them. I've seen them in town. They're my age. Oh, what fun!" "Do you really think so?" Sugarplum pursed her lips. "I suppose they look nice." Truthfully, Sugarplum thought the children looked rather ordinary. Their clothes seemed simple, and their hair wasn't styled nearly as fancily as she had done up Marie's. Whatever dance they were doing looked quite silly, but perhaps that was how children in the real world played. Sugarplum had never met any, besides Marie, so she really had no way of knowing. "Uncle must have wanted to surprise me," Marie continued eagerly. "I should hurry down now, so I don't miss them." "Oh, you're leaving so soon?" Sugarplum asked, a bit disappointed. "I thought you were staying for a little while longer." "But Marie started. The conveyor belt clicked along, disposing them back in the main clock room. "I thought that was why you fixed my hair to look so lovely, so I could go to the party." "It is," Sugarplum insisted. She struggled to find the right words to explain what she was feeling. "It's just, time moves so differently here. It feels like you're gone for ages when you leave. I wanted to play together a bit longer before you go. It's Christmas Eve." Marie seemed surprised at her friend's confession. "It really feels like that long when I'm away?" she asked. Sugarplum nodded. "Can you please stay? Just for a bit. I promise the children will still be at the ball when you get back." Marie looked longingly out the blurry glass window to the ballroom below. The children were dancing a reel in slow motion. Then she sighed and smiled at Sugarplum. "I guess I could stay for a bit longer. I'm sorry. I knew the time moved differently here, but I never thought of how long it must feel for you while I'm away. What would you like to do? Oh, perhaps we could play dress-up. I could even make us a few new gowns with the tinkered sewing machine I brought from my uncle's workshop. We can have a ball gown gala." "What fun!" Sugarplum clapped her hands. Inside, she felt a welling of relief that Marie had agreed to stay. "We shall look so lovely." "Like sisters," Marie touched her nose to Sugarplum's. "Like queens," Sugarplum agreed.